Hello, welcome to Christine Boho Plans. Today we are talking about how to make planning a routine in your daily life, even if you have ADD, ADHD. I know when you have ADD, ADHD, it's really hard to make a lot of things a routine. It's really hard to make it a daily, consistent part of your schedule. And we are here today to talk about how to do that and how to make a planning routine work for you on a regular basis. But first, I want you to sit down and think about something very important. And when I need to sit down and think about something, sometimes I need to have a cup of coffee with me, a bottle of water, something that will refresh me so that I can think really clearly. So, by the way, this is my October mug. It's October here. So here we go. I just thought I'd share that. But why? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to learn how to do a regular planning routine? If you don't know why, this whole video is not going to work for you. So while we're waiting for the video to start, I need you to get out a piece of paper, a diary, something, and write down, why is it important to me to settle into some kind of planner ritual every day, or to incorporate a consistent planner routine into my life? Why am I doing this? Because if you don't know your why, this is not going to stick for you. This is not going to work for you. The root to a successful planner routine is knowing your why and always going back to your why. Okay? I want you to think about that why. I have my why. And what I encourage you to do is put it on an index card so that you can put that index card where you can see it every day. And I have my why right here, but I'm not going to show you what my why is until the end of the video. So while we're waiting on the video to start, think about what your why is, write it down, and then we'll get started. See you in a minute. Okay, how do you create a consistent planner ritual or planner routine if you have ADD, ADHD? ADD, ADHD makes it very, very hard to create new rituals and routines because neurodivergent brains, it's just really hard to create something new in your life and to stick with it. And a lot of the times I hear from people with ADD, ADHD is that they try something new, like trying to sit down with their planner every day. It lasts maybe a few days, a week, if they're lucky, 2 weeks, but then it's not consistent. It doesn't stick. And so the idea is how do we make that planner routine ritual stick on a long-term basis so that you're actually successful with it and it's doing what you want it to do in your life? And that's why your why is important. You have to know what it needs to do for you in your life in order for it to be successful. Otherwise, if you're just trying to create a new routine just for fun, your brain's not going to accept that. It's going to be like, nope, I got too much going on. There's nothing important about it. Just remember, ADHD creates what's called an interest-based nervous system. That means if it's not interesting to you, if it's not important to you or meaningful to you in any way, you're not going to care about it. Even if you want to care about it, your ADHD brain's going to be like, no, we don't got room for that, and it's going to let you forget it. So you got to make it meaningful for you. That's why your why is important. If you make it meaningful, your ADD, ADHD brain will say, okay, all right, I think we can do this. Okay, first step being, what is your why? We already talked about that, and I'm going to come back to my why at the end of the video. Let's talk about how we do this, okay? The first thing you need to do, okay? You need to pair your planner ritual with some other ritual that you already do on a regular basis, okay? And when you do a planner, a routine is something that you do over time. So I have a monthly routine of working my planner. I have a weekly routine of working in my planner, and I have a daily routine of working my planner. The ritual is the actual behavior or act of sitting down and actually doing it. Okay. So you want to create a routine where you know every month, every week, every day, you're going to look at your planner, right? And then you want to stick with doing the rituals of actually looking at your planner and allowing your planner to be the tool that you need to help you be intentional with your life and your time. So you need to pair it with another ritual in your life that's already ingrained in your brain. For example, a lot of people drink coffee every single day, or hot tea every single day, every single morning. This ritual would be a really great ritual to pair your planner with. So that means you would sit down with your coffee or your hot tea and do your coffee planner. That is how you want to train your brain to do this ritual. Maybe your ritual is I get up, I shower, I get dressed, and I go to work, and I sit down at my desk. When you sit down at your desk, that's a ritual. I sit at my desk, I pull out my planner. Desk planner. You see that? Figure out what is already a ritual in your daily life that is not going to go away, that you can pair your planner ritual with. You will remember it way easier, and it will become more of a regular thing in your life, and your brain will pick up on, oh, we have to do both of these things, not just the one thing, okay? So let me real quick give you a side story of how this works in real life. I worked with a client that had at one point in her life 2 small dogs that were special ed dogs, special needs dogs, special health needs. And they both had diabetes. They required insulin every morning. They required a special diet and special ways of feeding them every morning. So because of all the special needs that these dogs had, my client had to get up at a certain time every single morning to make sure they were fed right, to make sure they had their medicines right, and to make sure like they were set for the day before she even got herself up and ready for work. And that got her into a daily ritual of I get up at 6 a.m. every morning because I have to take care of my dogs. And then after my dogs are taken care of, that's like 30, 40 minutes later, then I get into my own daily routine, and that gets me in motion for the rest of the day for myself. That was her routine rituals for years, okay? And because her dogs were so important to her, her brain allowed her to remember that ritual every single day, okay? Feeding the dogs, giving the dogs medicine every single morning, and then that would kind of jumpstart her into the routine that she needed to do for herself. Well, sadly, the inevitable happened, and unfortunately, dogs don't live forever, and she ended up with no dogs because, you know, they live their best lives with her. And when she first started to come see me, I wasn't sure if this was about grief and loss over the dog or what she was trying to get control of in her life, but it was a little bit of grief and loss over the dog, but also it was about she couldn't get a handle on her daily routine. She was sleeping in very late. She was going to work late, and not intentionally. She just really had a hard time getting out of bed. And of course, it sounds like depression, right? Not necessarily, because when we talked about what her nightly routine had turned into, her nightly routine was the same thing with the dogs. She had to feed her dogs, take care of her dogs with medicines and, you know, all the things at nighttime, which then spurred her into doing something similar for herself. She had shared that she did all of her medicines and all of her food and stuff with the dogs, and then she said it was just an automatic routine to eat for herself right after the dogs. So see how those two pair together. And she was just in that routine. Well, since she hasn't had dogs, she hasn't been eating for herself the same way in the evenings that she used to. And she really has started to struggle with what's called time blindness and ADHD, right? Where time would just go on and on and on. She couldn't have time blindness when it came to the dogs because they were on a schedule. Their medicines were important to her, and making sure they ate the right foods at the right times were important to her. So that was like what kept her on track. But now she doesn't have anything that's meaningful enough for her brain to hold on to keep her on track. And so we've had to figure out, what is that daily routine going to look like for her? How can we get her brain to find some meaningful rituals in her life that's going to help her stay on track, okay? That's going to help her pick up the daily routines, the daily rituals that's going to help her be successful and feel motivated to get through her days, okay? So, and there were some other things that went along with that, but that is just one example of many stories I've heard of people that have ADD, ADHD that just struggle so much with having regular routines and rituals, okay? So when we're talking about a planner ritual, it's no different. Like, how do I use my planner to help support myself, right? To help, like, make myself do the things that I need to do. So, again, first thing you need to do, what is a ritual you do every single day that you compare your planner time with? Coffee is the easiest thing if you already sit down in the morning and drink coffee. Or maybe it's with a meal. Like maybe if you sit down and eat breakfast. Sit down, eat breakfast, have your planner time with breakfast. Maybe you have to wait till you get to work. Maybe you do your planner time right before you start your work day. Okay? Or maybe morning is just a terrible time. Maybe you need to do your planner time at lunchtime, which is what I often do. Or maybe you need to do your planner time right before you go to bed at night. Go to bed, planner time. Probably the other way around, planner time, go to bed, right? So you need to pair something with your planner time that you already do on a regular basis to trigger your brain that this is important and we're going to do this, okay? So pairing it with another ritual in your life will help you so much in getting a planner ritual settled into your regular routine. Okay, so then the next thing you have to have, if you haven't seen this other video, I'm going to put it up in the corner and I'm also going to link it in the description box below. It's a video I did a couple weeks ago about how to know what you're planning for. That is so important. Sometimes people get lost in their planner rituals because they're like, oh, there's so many things I have to remember, I can't remember it. Especially if you have ADHD, right? If you have ADHD, it's affecting your memory. And when you're in the moment, when you need to remember something, you just don't, right? So you have to already have a list of general items that you need to trigger your brain to remember to have a successful ritual of planning, okay? So you have your planner sitting right in front of you, okay? In that planner or somewhere on your desk, you need to have a list of items that you create through a process that I've already created in another video. As I mentioned before, you can go watch that video, how to get this list. And you have this list of things that you need to plan for already set up for yourself. So I know for myself, when I sit down and plan, I know that I need to be considerate of what are the schedules, what are the appointments I need to know, what are the prescriptions I need to plan for, what are bills I need to remember, holidays and events. Now, you can have things on this planning list that aren't every day or even every week things, like my car. I put it on here because when important things come up for my car, I forget. So like for this month, I have to remember to buy my stickers or my tags for my car this month, or I'm going to forget it. So when I see this list, when I see car on here, I'm like, oh, it's October. I got to do that. So see how that's important? I mean, if you have nothing to do with that item on your list for today or this week, that's okay. You just move on to the next thing. So what do I need to know about social media, meals, chores, and projects, okay? So these are all the things. This is my main to-do list. This is my main general planning list that stays in my planner or stays somewhere on my desk that I use and reference all the time to make my planning sessions go by quickly. And basically what I do is sit down, I look at my to-do list, figure out what needs to happen in those areas of my life that I don't want to forget, and then I put them in my planner. When you have this pre-work done of this planning to-do list, doing it for on a regular ritual, on a regular basis in your planner, it's going to be super easy. It's going to be about 5 to 10 minutes max each time, right? So now let's talk about how often you need to do this. What are your planner routines? Routines are the time, month, week, daily, whereas rituals is actually just sitting down and doing. Okay, so I recommend that you definitely have a monthly planning routine to get things written onto the monthly layout. Well, this is the monthly layout of a calendar, or of a planner. So you want to make sure that you're looking at the month just like this, because our brains already know what a calendar looks like, and it's just easier to conceptualize all the things that need to be done in a month's time. And then you look at that month and you look at this list. And for the entire month, what are some things we have to know about schedules, appointments, prescriptions, bills, holidays, events, any issues with car, social media, meals and chores. Now on my list have meals and chores at the bottom like this because for me, this is weekly planning only. I don't do this for monthly planning unless there's like a project or something I want to make sure that I get done. I might put it on my weekly planning or my monthly planning just as a reminder. But for the most part, I don't put all the meals and all the chores and things that we need to do in our house on my monthly because that's just too much to plan for in advance. I do that on my weekly. And that's the other thing, like when you look at this list, you need to decide what's important to put on the monthly calendar, weekly calendar, and daily calendar, okay? And sometimes it's trial and error, to be honest. You might try it one way and you're like, this is too much, this ain't gonna work, I'm gonna do it this way. And that's fine. And honestly, the more you do that, the better you'll get at this. So don't worry about feeling like you didn't get it perfect the right time. There's no such thing as perfect. There's only productive. There's only making it functional for you. Okay? So do the trial and error. Make mistakes if you have to, and get it down to a ritual that really is going to be effective and successful for you. So for my monthly, I know I definitely do schedules, appointments, prescriptions, bills, holidays, events, car issues if I need to put that on there, and social media. Maybe a little bit of social media planning will go on my monthly. I usually have a separate planner for that because that's what works for my brain. But all those important things, and sometimes you can add fun things to your monthly, like what are some fun holidays for the month that I want to pay attention to. You can add that on there as well. So you want to get all that on your monthly. And then when you do your weekly planning, you decide what's important for the week. For me, everything is important. But when I do my weekly planning, meals and chores are really a weekly thing for us. So I focus on that once a week when I do my planning ritual. And then for my daily, I don't really do a daily anymore, to be honest with you. I actually did a video, I'll link it above, on as an ADHD, ADD brain, should you use a weekly planner or a daily planner? It really depends on how your brain works. It really depends on what works for you. Daily planning hasn't been working for me too much lately. I've kind of completely cut out daily planning for myself. What I do is I have my weekly planner and I'm constantly referencing it all day long. So when I say a planning ritual, you don't necessarily have to be doing a daily planner every day. You can just be opening up your weekly planner and checking it out, making sure you're not missing something for that day that's listed in your weekly layout. So I hope that makes sense. Like, your planning ritual doesn't have to be more than 5 or 10 minutes. And you don't want it to be like this really long process, or your brain's not going to want to do it. Okay? So that is really important to note. So recognize what you need to put in your monthly, what you need to put in your weekly, what you need to, if you're going to do a daily planner, how that's going to play out for you. It's really key to have this to-do list. Make sure you get that created and put it in your planner or on your desk so you can easily access it whenever you need it. Okay? So as far as like how to do monthly, weekly, daily planning, so on a daily basis, just checking your planner, that whole idea of pair it with another ritual definitely works. But what about monthly and weekly planning? It's kind of the same thing, but you can do it in different ways. So for me, I do pair my regular planner time at least once a month with my budgeting time. So I have to budget. If I don't take time to sit down and work with our money and budget things out, make sure bills are getting paid, then we just get in big trouble. So that's real meaningful for me, right? So after I do my budget, I immediately do my monthly planning. Budget, monthly planning. And I have a certain time of the month. I usually do it the very first weekend of the month. So that is just something that is ingrained into my brain. Find something that you do every single month that you can pair your planning ritual with right after you do the first ritual. Okay, just like mine, I do the budgeting and then I do the planning. Okay. The other thing that you can do on both a monthly or weekly basis, there's a skill called body doubling. I know that sounds really funny, but like for ADD, ADHD, if there's accountability in place, it makes it more meaningful. So for example, if you have a spouse or somebody in your house that also sits down and does budgeting, or they sit down and do their own planning, or just something important on a regular routine once a week, once a month, ask if you guys can sit down at the same table or in the same room and do that together at the same time. It doesn't necessarily mean you're talking to one another. Body doubling is literally having another person in the room, focusing on what they're focused on. And there's something about that encourages your brain to do the same thing. So if you feel like that could work, that's definitely a strategy that you could use to make sure that you get your monthly or weekly planning done. So now I realize some people don't have that luxury to have somebody else that can actually do that with them. And I get that. I completely get that. That's okay. Maybe, possibly, if nothing else, use your phone. Like, put it in the calendar in your phone as if it is an event. And if you don't know how to use your phone calendar, definitely go to YouTube and figure out how do I use the calendar on my phone. And everybody has a different phone, whether it's iPhone, Android, whatever. Like, look up your specific kind of phone, how you use the calendar. On my phone, I obviously can't show you because I'm using my phone to video, but on my phone, on the home screen, I have what's called a calendar widget. So for example, last Friday I had a hair appointment, but 1 week before that hair appointment, the calendar widget showed me, hey, in 1 week you have a hair appointment on this day at this time. When I see that on my phone all the time, it helps me remember it, okay? So if you put in planner time or planner ritual, whatever you want to write that as, into your calendar, it will tell you 1 week in advance, don't forget to plan to do that. And it gets to the point where you literally start putting like planner session or planner ritual, whatever you want to call it, into your planner. So you don't forget that you're going to do that on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis. So for me, the first weekend of the month, that makes sense to me. That's the routine that I have when I do my monthly planning. Now, as far as weekly planning, that really depends on your schedule. For me, I do it every Sunday. I would ideally, my ideal weekly planning, I would really like to not work on Monday mornings. I'm working towards that. I'm not there yet, but I'd really like to have Monday mornings off and do my planning on Monday mornings for the entire week. I think because Monday morning brain, I would be completely more into it on that day, whereas Sundays I'm still like, I still want to enjoy the weekend and I don't want to start thinking about work schedules and whatever, but I do it anyway because I really want to make sure I get my weekly planning done for the week. Because if I don't, when I don't do weekly planning in this household, we struggle with meals, nothing gets cleaned. So I know I have to, that's what makes it meaningful for me. I want to eat this week and I want to make sure I live in a clean house this week. And I want to make sure we have clean clothes this week to make sure we're getting laundry done. If we don't write this stuff down in our planner and have a weekly plan for how it's going to get done, it doesn't get done. So that's meaningful enough for me to remember every Sunday I'm going to do this, okay? So for me, I guess I do have a ritual on Sundays where I do it. I eat lunch after church, and then after lunch I do the planner. That's how that works for me. It's a pretty regular thing that I do. So you got to find that thing, that other ritual in your life that you can pair your planning time with that will help you remember to do it easier. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And so, yeah, monthly, weekly, daily planner routine. Again, your daily planner routine, if you've done your monthly and your weekly, does not have to be hard. If you use a daily planner, you are going to have to take some time to actually fill out the daily planner, and that's okay. Some people need to do that. If that's not you, if you're not using a daily planner, and you've already filled out your planner for the week and your weekly planner, then your daily planner routine is going to look like just opening the planner and making sure you're not missing anything for the day. And when I do that, I definitely check things off I've already done. Make sure you're checking things off because, believe it or not, adults are not, we really like it when we check things off. We feel like we've been successful. You want to reinforce success, right? So make sure you're doing that when you open up your weekly planner and just checking, make sure I got everything for the day. And here's are the things that I've already got done. Okay. So that is what your daily planner routine would end up looking like. But you have to do the pre-planning work monthly and weekly in order for that to be easy on a daily basis. And in order for all of that to be easy, you need to do the pre-planning work, the pre-brainstorming work of what do I need to plan for on a regular basis. Make sure you check out that video. Okay, so those are the tips that I have. How do you make planning a regular ritual and routine in your life in a way that actually works for you? I hope those tips were helpful. Now, let's go back to the why. Why are we doing this? I would love to hear your why, but let me tell you my why. So here, first of all, is how I have it positioned in where I sleep at night so that I see it when I wake up every morning. I use these really cute big clothespins. I don't know where it came from. I think somebody put it in a stocking stuffer one year, but I love them. And I clip this on my lampshade, on the lamp that's next to my bed. And I have this there and I see it every day. I deserve to get the most out of life. I remind myself, if I don't get out of bed to get the routine going, I'm not going to afford myself the time, the energy that I need to get the most out of life. And I deserve to get the most out of life. When I tell myself that every single day, it motivates me to get going. So you have to know your why. It makes things more meaningful for me. All right, what is your why? What is yours? What is yours? Please share it in the comments below. Inspire others with your why. Sometimes people get stuck on that and they're not really sure how to come up with a reason. It just has to be something that motivates you and is meaningful to you. So please share yours in the comments below. And if you have any questions about any of the ideas in this video, or if you have even more tips that work for you that I didn't talk about here, again, please engage with me and engage with others in this video. Thank you for being here today. I hope this was valuable to you. I will see you next time.